the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Allison Nissen. And today I am lucky enough to be with Sarah Nicolas. Sarah, could you give us a 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
Yeah, so I write young adult under the name Sarah Nicolas, and I write adult romance under the name Aria Kane. But I am also on the board of directors and the agent liaison for Pitchfors. I also have a YouTube show called Pub Talk Live and another called Agent Chat Live, where I interview literary agents. And then I also have the podcast Queries, Qualms, and Quirks, which asks published authors to share their successful query letter and discuss their journey from first spark to day of publication. I also write for Book Riot.
You are a super busy person.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask what Pitchfors are.
Yeah. So Pitchfors is an annual mentoring event where authors and industry professionals choose one mentee through something that looks very much like a traditional submission process. And then they work with them on a full manuscript edit and getting their submission materials ready. And then it ends in an agent showcase where last year we had about 200 literary agents who participated, who came and they look at the pitch and first page and make requests. And so from beginning to end for mentees, it's from September to February.
September to February. So you start off with mentorship and figuring out how to actually go through the whole pitch process.
Yes. Yeah. And also doing a full edit of the book, which is a big part of it.
Does it cost money to do this?
No, it is free to enter. It was started in 2012 by Brenda Drake. There are several kind of organizations that are like it now. Brenda kind of invented the model. She also invented the model for Twitter pitch events with Pitmad, which is another event that we run that is completely separate from Pitchfors. People get it confused a lot. So Pitmad is a quarterly Twitter pitch event, and Brenda kind of started it. And now there are a whole bunch of other ones that are fantastic and are more specific, but Pitmad is very broad in general.
So what's the difference between Pitchfors and Pitmad?
Yeah, so in Pitchfors, there are mentors, and it's a guided process. You are selected by a mentor to participate. It's competitive. So Pitmad is just one day every quarter, and you pitch your book on Twitter, and agents and editors can like it. So they're just entirely different things. So Pitchfors is a mentoring event, and Pitmad is a public Twitter pitch event.
I've heard of Pitmad. You can go on and then they will like it. And then the agents might contact them like, hey, I want more. Or do they actually just put that on Twitter? I want more.
Yeah, they usually request by liking the tweet. That's the way the contest is supposed to run. But because of like how popular it's gotten and how many people participate and people liking the tweet who don't know the rules, sometimes agents will just kind of reply to make sure that people see, especially if it's gotten a lot of likes, because Twitter only lets you see about 100 of your likes. So if you get more than that, it's hard for you to see who's requested. So sometimes agents will reply, but liking is the way that it's supposed to work.
All right, walk me through this. So let's suppose I have a book. I'm super excited. I want to find an agent. I put it out there in the Pitmad Twitter world. Is it written? Is it a video? How does that, is it 160 characters or less, or how does that work?
Yeah, so all the information is available at pitchfors.org/pitmad, but I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So on the day of the event, which is the first Thursday of, I'm trying to remember the month, sorry, March, June, September, and December, the first Thursday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern is when Pitmad happens. You can tweet 3 times per project throughout the day. So if you have 2 books that are ready, you could tweet, 3 per book. And so it's a short pitch. So it has to fit in a tweet. You have to include the hashtag Pitmad. You should also include the hashtag for your age category. And then there are also hashtags for different genres or different elements that you may want to include in that, because agents do search by that when they're looking for kind of a specific thing. And so it all has to fit in one pitch. You can't use any images unless it's a graphic novel or picture book and the image is intended to be published in the book. So, and actually agents sometimes filter out images if they're not looking for picture books or graphic novels. So it's a bad idea to include images unless, you're specifically doing a graphic work. And you can schedule your tweets however you want. Some people like to space it out and do one at like 9 a.m. and do one at like 2 p.m. and do one at like 6 p.m. or whatever. You can do them all at once. You can make them very, very different pitches, which I always recommend, or you can make them very similar to each other. You can't tweet exactly the same thing because Twitter won't allow you to do a duplicate tweet, but you can like switch things around if you really want to do the same pitch over and over again. And then you just kind of wait and see if any agent or editor likes your tweet. And usually if they do, they'll have usually tweeted before starting to like things what to do if you receive a like from them. So they'll tweet something like, oh, if you get a like from me in Pitmad, go to this forum, whatever, send an email to this address, whatever it is. So, and then you do that, and then you send it, and it should be a completed manuscript. It should be previously unpublished, and it's also only for unagented writers.
Sounds like a super fun way. It's a little exciting. I imagine that you would get all these little baskets of nerves crawling around. Like you'd be checking Twitter every 30 seconds just to see if anybody's liked it. Do some people get, you said sometimes over 100. Are other writers liking it? Other people that you have friended on Twitter?
Yeah, so we ask people not to like unless they're an agent or editor, but of course there are always people who see the tweets and don't know the rules of the contest, and so they'll like, not realizing, that that's what it's intended for. Pitmad was created when the writing community was a lot smaller on Twitter, and so it wasn't as big a deal then. But also it's so big now, and it's so widespread that we can't change the rules without like creating mass chaos, So there are different ways that you can kind of figure out like which, if there are any agent or editor tweets that you like that you missed. You can ask your friends to unlike the tweet very politely. Don't be mean to them. We've seen that before. But yeah, usually people don't get that many likes like from agents and editors as requests, but they'll end up getting kind of these casual likes from people who just don't realize what the rules are.
Wow. Well, we'll go over the dates again. I'll put that in the notes as well. But you've worn so many different hats in the writer's world. So you've been a traditional and an indie author. You've been an editor and a cover artist, and even a publicist. Boy, that's easy for me to say, right? What is the most important thing for an author once they've started writing to do besides the writing?
I think the most important thing for writers to do is to continue learning, leveling up their craft, but also learning about publicity, learning about what should be on your website. Like I talk all the time because I was a publicist for so long, and now I'm an event planner where I rely on, press kits and that kind of thing. So I talk a lot about, the basics of what should be on your website. And I think a lot of people don't have that stuff just because they aren't aware. And so I think they should be actively pursuing education.
So what do I put on my website? Top 3 things.
Yeah, top 3 things. Okay. So a third person bio. A lot of people, if they do have bios, they'll have first person bios, which is unusable for a journalist. Like I'm not going to copy a thing that says I am a writer, right? Number 2 is contact info, some way to contact you, especially if you're open to media opportunities or event opportunities, which most writers are. And if you aren't, just say that you aren't, honestly, because I go all the time to authors' websites trying to contact them, inviting them to an event, inviting them to a paid event, and there's no contact info on their website. And so I just go to the next author. So that's a missed opportunity for them. And then number 3, information about your published books. You would be astonished how many authors don't have information. Like I can't figure out what published books they have available from their website. So that's probably top 3. And then if I could do a 4th,
of course,
a photo of yourself, which it's if you feel totally uncomfortable, that's fine. But a lot of people just don't realize, and they have like a out of focus selfie of themselves or something like that. So even just like a fake professional photo, it doesn't have to be a real professional photo. Something that looks like relatively professional is always a good idea, because it helps readers recognize you at events. If you're going to events, especially, and someone is excited to meet you, they can look at your website ahead of time and know to look out for you.
Now, I'm going to comment on photos first. I know I love Canva. That's like my little favorite play thing on the internet, but I've gone outside, had my husband take a picture using portrait mode, and I just put on a nice dress with a nice necklace, nice tree behind me. But then you go to Canva and you can remove the background, and you've got this fantastic professional looking picture. And all I had to really do was spend a little time on my hair and my makeup just to make sure that I didn't, have things sticking out where they shouldn't be. But it's so easy to have that professional photo, and people are so reluctant to, I don't even know if they're camera shy or if they just don't know how to take a picture.
Yeah, I have a blog post on my blog that is about how to fake a professional photo. And the example that I have was taken literally in front of a fire exit door at my work, because it just happened to be a spot with good lighting. Because honestly, good lighting is the most important thing for any photo. You can get away with a lot of things if you have good lighting.
That would be very true. All right. My next question for you is bios. I happen to be writing my own today. This was a challenge I set out for myself. I always like to change it up a little bit. I like to throw in just a touch of humor. As an entrepreneur, I have all these different hats that I wear, and I'm uncomfortable putting all of them on because it sounds like I'm a real scatterbrain and no one would ever want to work with me. So how do you narrow that down? Do you have any recommendations?
I personally have multiple bios that I use depending on the opportunity that I'm seeking at the time. So if I'm trying to present myself as an expert in publishing, for example, I'm going to throw all the hats in there, right? Because it's showing that I have knowledge in a lot of different areas. Whereas if I'm seeking to speak as an author, I'm not going to include all my industry experience and that kind of stuff. And so I think you should tailor it to whatever the opportunity is. If it's for, like a book, you're probably going to want to focus a little bit more on the personal, a little bit more on that humor that you were mentioning, and less on, your day job or other kind of like industry things that you do that general readers won't really care about or connect with. Whereas if you're seeking, to write an article for Writer's Digest or be on a podcast, you may want to include some of that more like professional details.
Yeah, it's challenging when we're like, yes, you're right though. As a writer, we have the day job, we do all these other things. And then how do you narrow that down? But you're right. If you tailor it to your audience the exact same way you write a book.
Yeah.
So simple, right?
It's easy to say, harder to do.
All right. Let's talk about cover artistry. So we want our book cover to look fantastic. Do you have any hints for people?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake I saw, especially when I was an independent publicist, was authors doing their own covers when they shouldn't be, which is like a really hard thing to say. How do you tell someone you're not that good at this, right? And so it's hard, because it is also hard to get that feedback, because it's when you're doing your own cover, you don't know if it looks good or not to other people. Like, you're too close to it, I feel like. And so if you don't have any graphic design experience, if you if you can't like decorate a room, you probably can't do a cover. And so try to think about your skills. And if your skills do not have to do with the visual artistry, then you're probably not a great cover artist. And so that's the biggest thing for me, is like self-published authors who get covers, who do their own covers, who probably shouldn't, because the cover is a huge, huge, huge selling piece for any book. Like the whole saying, like, don't judge a book by a cover, is ridiculous, because everyone does, like literally everyone does. So you really need to have at least a decent cover, to catch people's attention. And it's really hard to do that yourself if you haven't done it for other people and received training in it and received feedback on covers. It's just like writing, like a lot of times you don't know the writing mistakes that you're making until someone else points them out for you, and then you're able to learn and improve. And cover design is the same way.
So Sarah, what's on the horizon for you as an author?
My agent is shopping a book right now, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's a quieter book than I usually write, so I have no idea what the market is like for it. And then my alter ego, Arya Kane, I am looking at putting out the second book in the company series. I said fall, but it's probably going to end up being early winter. It's definitely going to be before February. And then, I'll continue doing the podcast. I'm having a lot of fun doing that. And everything else is kind of up in the air. We'll see.
Wow. It is a busy, busy time for you.
Yeah, Pitchfors opening up in September is always a busiest time of year for us. For Pitchfors, which is a mentoring organization, the mentor wish lists go out September 11th. And then you have about 2 weeks to look at those, and submissions open September 26th and they close on September 30th. So if you're looking to submit in Pitchfors, that's your deadline. We're also doing a whole bunch of Twitter chats and video chats and Instagram takeovers on the Pitchfors account the entire month of September, in case people have any questions or want to get to know the mentors better.
It's a great educational opportunity.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. We also have the forums where people can go in and get critiques on the query letter, first page, synopsis, that kind of thing. And all of those opportunities are available to anyone, whether or not they're participating in Pitchfors. So even if you're not ready to participate, or you don't want to, like it gives you anxiety, which I totally understand, you are welcome to participate in all the other like critique giveaways and chats and learning opportunities and the forums and everything, even if you're not participating or submitting in Pitchfors.
Wow, that's really an awesome opportunity for authors.
I hope so.
It is. You said it's grown a lot.
Yeah, it started in 2012. I remember one year I had the most submissions of any mentor, mainly because my wish list was so broad, and I had like 60 something. And now we have mentors who get like 500 submissions. So it's grown quite a bit.
So what happens? I submit to a mentor. I say, I want you. I fill out my application, send them all the information. And then if I'm selected, then they help me with my project. Do they select more than one person?
Yeah. So whenever you fill out the form, you can select up to 4 mentors to choose to. That's why the wish lists are so important. So you can narrow down, your list, and then they get them. We have like a kind of private site where they can browse them. And so the first submission is a query, a first chapter, and a 1-page synopsis. And the mentors can request further pages. So they will usually request a full. Sometimes something happens and they're not able to request the full before the deadline occurs, but usually they're going to have requested a full by the time the deadline comes up. And then we make the mentee announcements. And so each mentor can only choose one mentee. And then they work with them. They start working with them as soon as the announcement starts, basically. Sometimes we call it wild card, where a mentor will be allowed to select 2 mentees. Usually that is to accommodate for any mismatches in the expected submissions versus real submissions. So we choose our mentors based on their wish list, based on how many people submitted the previous year in different genres and different age categories, that kind of thing. So 2 years ago, we planned for 40. It was like 40% of our submissions should be adult, 40% of our submissions should be young adult. And we saw there was like 44% of them were adult. So we got like a little bit higher adults than we expected. And so we gave our wild cards to adult mentors so that we could kind of balance out the odds.
How many people did you have last year that submitted?
I think it was around 4,700.
That is, wow.
Yeah,
that's well, congratulations to you all on attracting that many authors.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't even do any advertising. It's like taken on a life of its own, but it's honestly, it's like really great that people trust us, and believe in the program enough to submit that.
Well, Sarah Nicolas, this has been an exciting conversation. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so all of my information is available on my website, sarahnicolas.com. That is Sarah with an H and Nicholas with no H. And I'm also quite active on Twitter. It's Sarah_Nicolas.
All right. You ready to move to our rapid fire questions?
Sure.
In one sentence, or maybe two, how would you sum up the internet?
Oh my gosh. I would say the internet is a very powerful communication tool that can go very wrong quickly.
I will agree with that definition. I think we should make it the real definition of what the internet is. Question number 2. How many chickens would it take to weigh as much as an elephant?
I don't know. How much does an elephant weigh?
I don't know that either.
300.
300. It's probably a little bit more than that, but let's go with 3,000. I don't know. Maybe someone will get back to us and let us know.
I'm going to Google it as soon as we're done here. So,
and what is the most embarrassing thing you've ever worn?
The most embarrassing thing I've ever worn? Okay, I got it. It's easy. I wore a banana costume when I worked at Starbucks on Halloween. Mainly because I was upset that I wasn't going to a Halloween party, and I was like, I have to dress up. And my brother-in-law had a banana costume, and I just thought it was perfect for Starbucks. So, but it was fun. I don't get embarrassed easily.
Sarah Nicolas, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me.
You all have been listening to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Allison Nissen. Allison out. Boom. We're all done.
Excellent. Cool.
Sarah Nicolas is a recovering mechanical engineer, library event planner, and an author who lives in Orlando. She writes young adult novels as Sarah Nicolas and romance under the name Aria Kane. Sarah has published both traditionally and independently, and has also worked in the publishing industry as an editorial intern, editorial assistant, publicist, publicity director, cover artist, and art director. Sarah is the current board treasurer and agent liaison for Pitchfors and the host producer of Pub Talk Live, Agent Chat Live, Queries, Qualms, and Quirks. When she's not writing, Sarah can be found playing volleyball or listening to audiobooks. Sarah is a contributor for Book Riot and is represented by Rebecca Podos of Rees Literary Agency. You can find her at sarahnicolas.com or Sarah_Nicolas. Learn, network, and grow with the 20th Annual Florida Writers Conference, October 14th through 17th, 2021. The Florida Writer Youth Conference, October 16th, 2021. Make your mark. Experience the synergy and supercharge your writing career at the 20th Annual Florida Writers Conference. For more information, visit floridawriters.org. Until next time.